Ahoy, sailors! Welcome back to Ship Talk with Jen and Ross. I'm obviously Ross, your wannabe bestie first mate, because I'm with everyone's bestie first mate, Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hi. No, I'm the bestie.
I know
No,
you're the
no other
bestie.
besties. Uh,
We can both be your besties if we're sailing together.
no, I don't
Okay.
share.
So
Mm-mm.
we are talking about today a topic that we've kind of brushed on a little bit, but I think it's important to understand, and we have some disclosures before we start. Jen and I are both travel advisors or travel agents. We are both been through the Virgin Voyages training called the Gold Knot level, which means we've been through all the training. We've sailed many times on Virgin Voyages, but we do not work for Virgin Voyages in any capacity other than we sell their product and we're big fans. And I have to say that because we're going to touch on some things today that we're not fans of, and that's okay. Because Ship Talk is all about our honest take on Virgin and all types of cruising, and we have some universal things that we love about all cruise lines and things we don't like, and we're going to touch on them today. And our topic today is, why are you hiring us to be your travel advisor or travel agent or first mate? And you should be, because we're the best. Um, I'm going to start by saying that Jen and I both don't charge for our services. Um, and there are plenty of travel advisors out there that do. I just don't believe in it. I think spreading the joy of travel to me is worth more than that. Now, if you're going to call me and say, Ross, I want to go to Disney for 10 days, that's a completely different conversation of planning. Whereas Virgin is a much less stressful interaction. Chad, what's your take on the fees? We should start there.
Yeah, I personally, I don't charge for individual bookings, on any cruise line, whether it's Disney or not. Um, but when we get into groups, depending on the size, that's where that's going to come in.
Hmm.
Um, really large groups. If it's 4 or 5, no, I'm not going to charge you for that. But and it also depends on the level of planning you need with your group. Um, so it's something where it's kind of like, okay, come tell me what you need, and then I'll let you know if I'm going to charge you a fee or not. But for the most part, no.
Excellent. Okay. And I'm in the same boat. Unless it's a ginormous group of people that has very, very specific things, I'm not going to charge you. But there are add-ons that Virgin allows for groups that are monetized. But that's a whole separate conversation, and not for this, really for today's
If
episode of
if
Ship
you're
Talk,
coming to me, if you're coming to me to book 200 cabins on a cruise, that's a different story.
right? And if at that point, we're probably both going to help you. But Jen's
Yeah.
the boss. Don't sweat it.
Yeah.
Um, so um, there's so much that comes with Virgin Voyage that doesn't cost you a stinking dime. And we've been over that. The restaurants, basically, other than alcohol, it's probably included. Other than the spa, it's probably included. Other than buying things,
Fancy
in
coffee.
well, and that also has an asterisk next to it. Um, unless you're shopping on what's on High Street or playing in the casino, it's probably included. So, Jen, why am I hiring a travel advisor then? I could just click and go.
You can, but there's so many other things that go into planning a trip. Even though cruising, in my opinion, is like the easiest form of travel because you're staying in one place and getting to go to all these different countries and different locations. Um, so it's less stressful than planning an actual trip to the Caribbean. But there's so many other things that are involved, like travel insurance and knowing cancellation policies and things like that. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is how to navigate those things and how working with a travel agent can just take all those worries away from you and make it a simple trip to go on.
And if you want to go online yourself and book a cabin yourself through one of our links, because we can send you our link and you can do the legwork yourself, you are potentially going into a maze. Because as Jen and I test drove, sometimes I'll be on web page. Jen, 3,000 miles away, will be on the same exact website, and we're going to see different pricing. And we can root around and figure out why. But another big thing is the elusive Deck 14 and the elusive Deck 8, which are the two decks you really want to avoid. Deck 14 because of the noise above you, deck 8 for the noise below you, because deck 7 is where two of the big venues are. That's the Manor and the Red Room. And deck 15 is going to have the pools, the galley, and some bars.
Yep.
And it gets loud at night. It gets loud in the morning because of just people stomping above you. And in the Red Room and the Manor, especially if it's a cooler night, they're going to be pumping those dance clubs with a lot of octane. So just
Yeah.
be mindful of that. Um, because and if you do a base fare and you're like, oh, Ross, I booked a base fare, I'm all set. How do I get off? Can't do it. You don't even know your cabin. We can't even tell you your cabin because we don't even know it. Whereas if you book through us on a base fare, we can tell you where your cabin's going to be. And that is costs again nothing for us to do. We're happy to help you with it.
And I'm actually testing out not the base fare, but a lock-it-in rate. It's a legacy lock-it-in rate, so it's going to be a little different than what you guys are booking if you are looking at booking a lock-it-in rate now. Um, but I'll be able to tell you how lucky I get with my cabin location because it's not a full ship for the LA Mermaiden. And I booked a lock-it-in insider. So we'll see if I get lucky with an upgrade. It's very likely that I do, but
Now, are you playing the
think
upgrade game as well at the same time? You're
no.
just whatever you get, you get.
I'm just whatever I get because it's just me. I don't want to pay the difference in the upgrade. Now the cool thing about that is when you're booking a lock-it-in rate, if you want to upgrade, you can bid on an upgrade. They'll cancel your upgrade if they're just going to assign you into a central or a sea terrace cabin or whatever cabin that's higher on their own. So you don't have to pay anything if you get upgraded automatically like that. But if you bid to upgrade and they don't assign you a cabin that way, then you do have to pay for it. So for me, it just wasn't, when I was looking at the bid options, it wasn't worth the cost to bid on a sea terrace when I can see how many cabins are left and it's more than likely that I'm going to get what I want.
Yeah,
So I'm just
if
going
you
to
get that
risk it.
mega suite, I mean, if you get the massive suite, I can always hop on a plane. The massive suite is larger than a typical apartment. It's a two-bedroom suite. It has a soaker tub. It has two bathrooms. It has a
It
balcony.
has a hot tub on the balcony.
It has two different dining areas. It's several. It's ridiculous. Like I can't even describe it. I think the square footage is about the same as my four-bedroom house to give you some idea of the entire suite. So it's pretty crazy. That includes inside and out, just so we're clear.
Yeah. I
Um,
was going to say, I don't think the inside, but that makes
and
sense.
and there are some suites that Jen has educated me on to avoid. Even with all my knowledge, Jen's like, nope, that suite's only available on 14. I'm like, oh, that's the 14 rule. Now, if you are late, if you are gonna party the hell out of this trip, 14's fine. Great, no worries. But if you like to sleep in the morning, it can be a challenge. We have an idea where the galley is. We have an idea where the mega rock stars are on 15, which is a quieter area on 14, but it's still a bit of a gamble. And that one deck to 13 is a lot quieter. So
And the
this
other
is a
thing you
good
have to
example.
consider is like the cheeky corner suites, for example. Those hang over the dock. And so you're going to get noise from the dock the lower the deck you are. Um, so that's something to keep in mind too. Now, obviously, people aren't partying at the dock late at night, other than maybe Scarlet Night. So you don't
And
really
pajama
have
party.
you don't really have night noise to worry about. But that is something to consider if you want to sit out on your balcony in the peace and quiet. That might not be the best location for you. Now, the higher up you go, you're going to have less of that. But I was just talking to someone the other day that was looking into it for Alaska, and I pointed that out to them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we would want to be higher up, not directly above the."
So we put in for the cheeky corner suite well, I'm sorry, we put in for a sea terrace as close to central as you can get without being central,
Yeah,
and put in every bid offer for Alaska, specifically the all three F suites, because to us, that is the best place to be on the ship for Alaska.
yeah.
With the understanding that, okay, if we are on 7 or 8, it's going to be loud with the dock traffic, but we're okay with that because of what we're going to get for it. Um, so it's all about your needs and your wants. And let's face it, the entire trip is wants. There's very few needs other than I need a vacation.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing that's actually a good point about Alaska is when you're booking with a travel agent, you want to make sure you're getting on the right side of the ship for Alaska because of how you're sailing through these ports. Especially some of these itineraries where there's 2 or 3 sea days where you're viewing glaciers. Knowing what side of the ship to be on during that time is important. And we have visibility into all the decks so we can see what's available versus you booking online and just being assigned a cabin and being on the wrong side of the ship.
I think
Um,
Alaska's an A. You want to be the A side, correct?
Z. You want to
I'll
be
be
on
on
the Z
Z.
side.
Oh, I think I
Yeah.
screwed that up.
Yeah. So
Well,
I've been putting, and Z is my favorite side anyways. I don't think I've ever been on the A side. Maybe
now we
one
should
time I've been
also
on the A
mention
side, but
that you don't have to sit in your cabin on your balcony to see Alaska.
no,
In fact,
no.
being up on 15 or 16, either all the way up front or all the way in the back, are the best places to be. Or standing on the halo, which is a great place as well, which is the track that you walk around.
Yeah.
So
And I've noticed as I've been booking all these Alaska cruises, because it's been like Alaska month for me, um, the Z side is definitely going first. Like people are definitely paying attention to that and getting their cabins on that side. Um, so if you book later in the game, that might not be an option for you, but they have added so many places on that particular ship for you to go view these glaciers during the day.
now, if I'm
Um,
not mistaken, Jen, you're going to have a whole reel about the Brilliant Lady in the next week or so coming out on your channel.
I'm gonna have a video on my YouTube channel about my LA mermaid or my Miami mermaid and sailing. So last week we talked about on my YouTube channel sailing out of LA and what that's like and what to expect out of sailing out of LA. So this next week we're gonna have the review of Brilliant Lady coming out. And then obviously we're gonna do more Brilliant Lady content leading up to the LA Mermaiden. So keep your eye out on my YouTube channel for that. I'll do like a packing list and things like that too, like I do every trip. So, yeah, all kinds of stuff. All
Yeah,
kinds of stuff coming.
Alaska's going to be a big education for both of us because it's such
Yeah.
a different trip. I'm going in August, you're going in September. They're similar but different itineraries. They're both out of Seattle, and they're on the
Yeah.
Brilliant Lady, which was designed for Alaska and
Well, and
it's designed for the Panama Canal.
the other thing too is doing Alaska on Virgin is a very different experience to doing Alaska on Princess or Celebrity or any of these other ships that go up to Alaska. You're going to have a lot more education and things like that on the Princess and Celebrity ships. That's what they're known for. And that's why they're the leaders in Alaska. Um, but if that's not really your thing, it may not be worth the cost to book those 2 lines for Alaska. It may be a better option to do this all adults experience on Virgin. The other thing is there's certain port stops, but areas that you're cruising by in Alaska, Mendenhall Glacier, um, Glacier Bay, like things like that, you have to have special permitting to be able to get there. And obviously, Princess and Celebrity are established there, so they have those options, and Virgin doesn't. They're working on it. I've seen a few itineraries for Alaska 2027 that have some places on there that weren't on these itineraries because they're able to get those permits. So um, that's another good reason to work with us is we'll be able to educate you on that and help you kind of figure out what your goal is for the trip, whether you're going to Alaska or the Caribbean, help you decide what itinerary is the right one.
And sometimes, while we love Virgin, there are some things that Virgin does that there are some stops that they don't have their act together yet. For example, the New York to Bermuda run, they're only spending one night in Bermuda, and their competitors are spending two. And I think that's something that Virgin needs to look at for 27 and beyond because that extra day and move the ship just a couple knots faster will add so much
I do
because
think they added an
2 nights
overnight in
now.
Bermuda. I think they
No,
did an
it's always been
overnight.
an overnight, but the
Oh,
competitors are doing 2 nights on a 5-day cruise, no
oh,
less.
in Bermuda. Is
So
there that? I've never been to Bermuda. Is there that much to do there that it's
it's
worth
not
2
there's that
days?
it's not that there's that much, it's that the second day they are piecing out too early. You gotta be back on
Mm,
the ship by almost 2 o'clock, so you're gonna be
got
very
it.
limited on your itineraries, and you don't get there till after 4 o'clock, I believe, the first day. So add a day, make it better. That's just my take, Richard. I know Sir Richard is a diehard listener to Ship Talk with Jen and Ross. No, he's not. He should be,
We
but
we
he's not.
also know that Richard's the one making decisions.
Right. Richard has the final say, but there are lots of people in that get it making work as great it is. And when Richard's on
Normal,
board, he's a guest. He's not there to check up on people. That's not his style.
Normal and Nathan, if you're listening to this,
Although I have been told that Richard has stopped at people's tables to take their order as a goof in the restaurants
why couldn't he have done that to mine when he was on?
because he wasn't listening to the podcast yet, Jen.
So, okay, I'm just looking hypothetically at this Bermuda sailing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's literally 24 hours. So it's overnight, but they're leaving. You get in at 4 p.m. and you leave at 4 p.m. the next day.
yeah.
That's not enough time. I
It's
agree.
not to explore a one of the most beautiful islands in the Atlantic, and
Yeah,
it's not a Caribbean cruise, and it's out
yeah.
of New York. But you know what? It's gonna evolve. All their cruises are evolving. I already have clients wanting to book a girl trip for 29. I'm like, okay, slow your roll. You're on my
We're not there
list.
yet.
We'll be there. We'll probably be there in some point in 27. We'll be able to lock those in.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the more complicated things that you may want to use a travel agent for. One of those is navigating all of the terms of all the many pricing tiers that these cruise lines have. Um, Virgin specifically has a lot of pricing tiers. But some of these other cruise lines too, they've got the guaranteed cabins versus a regular cabin and knowing what you can and can't do with the different sail terms. So, Ross, what would you say is the most important thing to consider when you're looking at all of these different terms and conditions?
Okay, so when we talk about Virgin, I will not sell for a base fare. Won't do it. I'm gonna do essential. There's a very slight price difference, and what you're getting is a much better window of booking restaurants. You have the ability to make that one change if you need to. You obviously have the regular classic Wi-Fi, which is for 80% of people on board going to be plenty of Wi-Fi. You're going to get it's the prototypical regular experience on Virgin. It is what the fares were before October of last year. And I think it's great. At that point, the only two things you're adding on are, well, your excursions, obviously, and any of that stuff, your alcohol and your gratuity, but you're adding your alcohol and gratuity anyway. And I should mention when you book with Jen or Ross, we are giving you $100 in seller loot. That's, can I say guaranteed, Jen, that they're getting that at this point in
No,
time? Okay, it's
no.
not guaranteed. What is, you know what I'm talking about, Jen?
Yeah,
So what does that
it
mean?
depends. It depends how far in advance you're booking. It depends
So there are some TNC with that,
what cabin type you're booking, and the amount will depend on all of those things too.
right?
So, yes, you are
There are
getting
some
some
perks
kind
we
of yes.
throw you. There are some lockouts
You're
like
guaranteed to get some kind of perk. The amount will vary based on the booking and what we're doing. So, um because there's sometimes where things are stackable with Virgin promotions and there's sometimes where they're not. So we just kind of have to look, but we will tell you all of those things when we send you price quotes, what your perks are, what the bonuses you're getting are, things like that.
absolutely. So,
So
Jen, what is your must have? Which tier do you go with?
I always do the essential because like you were saying, it's the same thing as before the tier prices happened. I will sell someone a lock-it-in rate or a base price, but I'm going to quote you the essential so you can see it. And I'm going to make you sign something that says you understand you're giving up all these things so that you're not coming back to me later and saying you didn't tell me this. Because I want to make sure you understand you can't change your
Anything.
cabin type. You can't select your cabin. You're not gonna be able to use Wi-Fi. Um, Basically all the things that make Virgin Virgin, you're not gonna get. So as far as pricing goes. So if someone's booking one of those rates, I have them sign something that acknowledges that they understand those terms. But if someone is like, "Hey, I know I'm gonna need the premium Wi-Fi," I'll probably quote you the premium Wi-Fi, but I'm gonna show you a breakdown of why it's probably not worth it depending on the sailing. I'll help you do that math to say, "Okay, with the drink credit and with all these other things, it may or may not be worth paying that price versus paying for that package separately." Because I wanna make sure you're not overspending to go on your trip. I wouldn't wanna overspend on something like that. The other thing is if you're planning on working from the ship, the premium Wi-Fi may not be enough. So there's no point in paying for that when you're gonna have to upgrade to work from sea anyways. If you're someone that needs VPN access or anything like that, you're gonna have to pay for work from sea. Um, but for, like, answering emails, Classic is usually okay. I did have some issues on Brilliant Lady getting things to load last time, and I don't know if that's just a new ship, new connection, I don't know, so we're gonna test that out in April. Um, and I almost upgraded to the premium to see if it was any different, but, like, I couldn't get Google Sheets to load while I was on board. So which is not something that should be,
That's a very thin
like,
application.
blocked. Yeah, so I wasn't understanding what was going on, and my Gmail was struggling too. Everything was working on my phone, but not my computer. So I don't know
So
what was happening.
and within that, it's important to understand with these fares that they change. This is the latest incarnation of fares. Virgin tomorrow morning could change it. I hope they don't because we understand this one.
Yeah,
And but with the base fare, the biggest thing is no changes, none. You spell your name wrong, it's a headache. You put your birthday in wrong, it's a headache. Oh, you're the person who you're selling with, you're a couple and you just broke up. You're selling solo because you can't sell that seat to someone else. Whereas with classic, with the essential fare or the premium fare, you can. Those are big deals, and that's going to lead us into something else in a few minutes. But now every cruise line has these. They have their different tiers. MSC does it, Celebrity does it, Royal does it, Carnival does it, even Margaritaville probably does it, although I've never sailed on Margaritaville. Um, and there are pecking orders. Some are very obvious, some are not so obvious, but basically the bargain basement fare is going to have bargain basement limitations. So if you really are like, no, I want essential, I'm really not big, I don't care what I eat, it doesn't matter to me, this, that, or the other thing, great, no problem. But like Jen said, we're going to review exactly what you're giving up because we don't want you to miss out.
yeah,
That's the
and
bottom line. We
I think the biggest complaint about Virgin that I hear from people that have not booked through someone like Ross or I is the dining reservations. So if that's something you're concerned about and you're booking a lock-it-in rate where it's got a 15-day booking period for dining reservations, you're not going to get what what you want at that point. You're going to be doing them on board, and it's if you're on a full sailing, there's a chance that you may not be able to get in if you're in a group of 2 to 4 people. Um, so working with someone like us makes sure that we're getting you the right fare, we're able to book your dining for you so that you don't have to stay up until midnight and worry about it. Um, and just take all of that off your plate because it really, like, people stress out too much about the dining bookings, and it's really not that bad if you do it the right way.
it's really not. Sorry, I have blow my nose. So regardless of the cruise company you're in, that you're going with, whichever supplier, we do want to talk to you a little about insurance. It's important. It's not a fun topic, but it's an important topic.
And we should put the disclaimer out that we are not insurance brokers. We can't tell you specifically what is covered for each policy. You need to review your policy documents, but we can tell you why we choose to book insurance through one avenue or the other.
And we should also mention that New York specifically has totally different rules on insurance than the
Yeah,
rest of the country.
I
We don't know
believe
why.
I believe
There's
Hawaii does too. There's
yeah,
a couple different
there's
states.
some tort law which is just judicial rulings
Yeah.
that put them in place. So, and that's really for what's called cancel for any reason. And now, when we talk about the cruise companies, they have their own insurance that they really want you to use, and it covers you from the minute you get on board to the minute you get off the ship. Now, unless you live near the port city, that's not enough insurance for a variety of reasons. Um, because you're typically flying to your port. You typically have a hotel stay on either end, if not both ends. Because when we do Alaska, we're having hotels on both ends because we're going to explore Seattle after. Um, and if there's a connection issue, if there's a weather issue, all those things, the cruise company might help you out, but they're under zero obligation to help you out. Um, and we should also mention that if you break the law anywhere, your insurance company does not care. They're not interested. They're not going to bail you out of jail. Um, and ignorance of the law is not an excuse of the law or a defense of the law. So just we want to put all that out there. That includes
Yeah.
simple things that might be legal in your state but not legal in another state. Um, there are drug dogs at every port for a reason. Don't bring that kind of stuff on the boat, even if you have a license, even if you have a prescription for it. Still not allowed on the ship. Insurance. There's different tiers. Insurance. If you have a medical condition, please get insurance. Please make sure we will give you the 800 number of the supplier so you can talk to them directly about your insurance to make sure they're going to cover it. Uh, but the important thing about medical is the minute you get on the boat, your medical insurance is worth nothing except an out-of-network copay, meaning you're paying everything up front and you might get something back from your insurance company, your health insurer. Whereas with the insurance brokers, the insurance company that we use or that I use, and I'm pretty sure Jen uses the same one, um, that's covered insofar as you're going to call the insurance company from the ship and say, "Hey, I'm here. What do I do?" They're actually going to give a credit card number from them directly to the cruise company. That's not in all situations, but I have heard they've done that in the past
Yeah.
because you've paid for the insurance and they're going to back you up.
And there's sometimes where if it's something minor, you may have to pay out of pocket and they'll reimburse you. So that's just something you want to check with your policy provider, figure out how that works. We'll always send you the documentation of what is covered, what's not covered. It's got the number on there for you to contact them, but there's different tiers. And so I always recommend getting insurance outside of the cruise line because number one, you want your flight covered, you want your hotel covered. If your luggage gets lost, you want that coverage. But a good example is I just booked a couple families on an Alaska cruise for this year, and we compared the pricing for Virgin's insurance versus outside insurance. The outside insurance was a little bit more, but the coverages were significantly more going outside of Virgin. So just for medical alone, and this family in particular was concerned about the medical coverages because of some pre-existing conditions that they have. So the other thing to know is pre-existing conditions will not be covered, from what I understand, after 14 days from when you book. So if you want those pre-existing conditions covered, you need to book immediately after you book your trip. And then you do have, with most insurances, a 10-day shopping policy where you can cancel and switch to someone else if you need to and get other quotes. But
Right.
for the most part, I'm checking prices at multiple insurance places for you and giving you the best price that I've found. Um,
Jen, who's our mascot of the day that we keep hearing from?
that's Loki.
That's Loki, your kitty cat, and that's okay. We are a family-friendly show for animals of all ages.
She, no, not with her.
It's
She,
it's totally okay.
no. You can't even see Scarlet, the actual mascot of the podcast.
Yes.
Um, so back to insurance. I always recommend getting outside. And there's sometimes if you're a younger couple or a younger group of people, your insurance is most likely going to be cheaper to book outside of Virgin. There's been several times where I've booked a couple insurance and it's been half the cost of what Virgin is charging for their insurance. So it's always worth getting quotes. I send that over to you after you book and you can say yes or no, and we can adjust to include your flights once we book them. But um, it just kind of depends what your preference is and what you're worried about being covered, I think.
Let's talk about a few things within this. If you are on a cruise and you get off the ship at a stop and you are not doing one of their excursions and you miss the boat, their insurance is not going to cover getting you to the next port. Whereas your insurance company is going to help you. Doesn't mean they're going to pay for the whole thing, but they're going to get you assistance to get you where you need to get. Um, so just be mindful of that. And there's a whole bunch of terms and conditions when it comes to insurance. And as Jen mentioned, we are not insurance brokers. We are helping to facilitate the transaction, and that's it. And give you the best advice we can give you based on our experience. So speaking of insurance, and I should mention that third-party insurance starts when you want it to. I always quote insurance the day before you're going to leave till the day after you get back. That's the window, because if you have an issue, say there's a 30-inch snowstorm coming your way and you want to leave a day early and you're able to, you want to be covered. Let's say, because weather this year in the Northeast has been a pain in the butt. So it's something that we are very much mindful of this year more than most. But weather's been a challenge for everybody. And weather is not necessarily covered by the cruise company. And speaking of weather, if you're on board and the seas are rough, there's no, they're not compensating you for bad weather.
No.
You're on a
You
boat.
make it you may be able to pull some, like, trip interruption if they, like, change a port or something. Um, yeah, it's tricky.
Jen, you do a lot more Pacific sailings than I do with your clients. Has there been any chatter with what happened in Mexico the other day? Because that's very relevant to insurance.
It was the day it happened. There was 5 ships in port yesterday or today. So the shelter in place ended, everything's fine. Some of the videos I saw a video specifically of the Costco in Puerto Vallarta on fire. The Costco was not on fire. It was a semi truck next to the Costco.
A little different.
So little different. Um, so yeah, from what I've seen, everything's been fine. They may have canceled port stops yesterday for whoever was in port, but everything's fine as of today,
And
from what
Cozumel
I've
on the
seen.
East Coast, Cozumel on the East Coast, while part of Mexico, is a 25-minute tender ride or ferry ride from the port to the mainland. I saw some cruise companies canceling those excursions, and offering different excursions within the island of Cozumel, which is a beautiful, beautiful island. Highly recommend that if you're looking at a Caribbean cruise. Costa Maya, which goes to Cozumel, is a gorgeous, gorgeous island.
Was there anything happening on the east side of the
No,
country?
nothing. I
I
think
was
it
gonna
was
say,
more
I didn't think there
preventative.
was anything. Okay, in
It
case
was just
something did
more,
happen.
yeah, which
I was
I
gonna say, I
told.
think that cartel was specifically, Jalisco cartel, so that would make sense. Um, but yeah.
These are all reasons to have insurance. Like right now, you cannot get insurance to certain countries. I cannot sell insurance to my clients that are going to Israel. Can't do it. They have to go with what LL is offering and the supplier that I use, and that's it, because they're not insuring it because of the war that just ended in a ceasefire, but not permanent peace yet. So that's another example of places that are not going to be insurable. If you go to North Korea, you're not going to be insured. If you go to Vietnam, you might have issues. Iran. Um, and there's a whole list of places that we know. These are things that we're taught and to advise you on. And if you want to go to these amazing places that might be off the beaten path, I'm not telling you not to go. Just understand. The other thing we should mention is that credit card companies will offer insurance as well. They're much more similar to the cruise companies with some serious stipulations. If any part of your trip is not paid for on that credit card, they will balk at paying anything else. So let's say you put it all on your Chase Visa card and one payment for $50 is made on your Discover. They're going to say, I'm sorry, you made multiple payments with different cards. And they're allowed to do that because it's in their terms and conditions. So
And I think it's
insurance.
really it's the higher cards, like the Amex Platinum, and I don't think my Venture card has insurance, other than, like, rental car insurance. So just check your terms. The other thing to consider is if you're cruising multiple times a year or going on various trips multiple times a year, you may want to look into annual travel insurance. There's different tiers of that as well, that with different coverages, but that may be something that makes more sense if you're going on like I'm considering it for next year because if I had to pay for insurance every single time I went, that's like almost another $600 for me alone. So looking at annual, I'm saving half the amount by getting an annual policy versus paying on each individual trip because I cruise 3 to 4 times a year. So if you're doing it that often, it might be worth considering, and we can help you navigate that as well.
With insurance, that's a whole separate conversation that we will have with you during the booking process and the intake, and we'll get deeper into that. I know it's not a fun topic, but it's an important topic. So,
Yeah.
Jen, I'm on board, and I'm so excited because I'm going to Barbados, and I wake up the morning for Barbados, and we're not going. What do I do?
You deal with it.
You
It
deal with it.
happens.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna
You
happen.
signed a cruise contract that says that they can change your itinerary at every time or at any time. Um, so you just deal with it. And if it's a good
Typically,
cruise company, they'll give you something for it. You'll for sure get your taxes back and your port fees back. Virgin is I think Virgin does it the best. They are very good about giving you some onboard spend if something like that happens. Whereas other companies I have heard are not as nice when it comes to that.
yeah, I heard about the
Um,
NCL, not riot, but sit-in at guest services.
well, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, there was a stand-in. 300 people were standing there refusing to leave until they had the officer of the watch come and talk to them. They didn't want to deal with guest services at that point because they canceled a itinerary stop with no explanation. No, this was like one where they were going to, dare I say, it was in South America, and they were going to Antarctica, and they got on board and found out they weren't going to Antarctica.
Because they changed it before and didn't
They
tell them.
changed it. They changed it the first night of the cruise. They woke up the next
Wow. And
morning,
that's an
yeah,
expensive trip.
and
Like,
I think it was NCL. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it was a really big like,
and it
what the
wasn't weather
heck?
related.
No,
Like other ships were going.
yeah,
Wow. Because I know Antarctica's tricky. There's only a certain amount that are allowed in, and
it's a very tight
um,
window. Also,
yeah.
I
Wow.
think they're done for the year already in February. I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm sure.
December and January, and that's it. It's such a tight window to go down there. Um, so there's going to be trip changes. There might be changes before you even get on board. Like you've booked a cruise that's supposed to go to these 4 stops, and you find out, oh my God, we're not going to Key West. We're going to Nassau instead. It happens. And they're going to give you options. Typically, Virginal, if they haven't sailed it, they're like, hey, if you want to change it, we'll talk. Um, but they don't want you to, but they're going to give you that option. They're pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's
so,
another place where insurance comes in handy because you may be able to get some money back in a situation like that. Whereas if that happens and you don't have insurance, you're just kind of stuck and you got to deal with what they give you.
hmm And the nice thing and let's remember when you're frustrated on board, the person who you're talking to
Is
may
not the
be
person that made the decision.
they are not the person. Even the captain might not be involved in the decision making. It might be even above them. Um, so understand that these people are a cog in the wheel, and it's a very, very big wheel.
It also could
And
be someone on land at the port that's like, sorry, we don't have room for you today. Like,
yeah,
I think it's very rare that that happens, but some of these ports are really cracking down on how many ships they're allowing in. Like the bigger the ship is and all of that. And then, places like Haiti or the Dominican where there may be unrest at times, they're canceling things for your own safety. So even though you may not see something happening, there may be something going on that you don't know that is leading them to that, making that decision.
right? And while Bimini is a tie-up at the pier port, um, I can tell you that the
The wind there is atrocious.
the wind is something, but if you are on a tender port, for example, NCL, they have a pier. It's only available for one ship now. Eventually, be able to hold four ships. Not that they're going to have four ships in port at once, but right now, one ship is gets the pier, the other one is tender, and if it's semi rough seas that day, the tender ship might not be getting off, and
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
yeah.
Um, so just be mindful of these things because there are changes, um, and just be mindful of it. On Virgin, you're not going to hear announcements. If you put your phone away, which I do recommend to take some cell phone breaks on your trip, and get the hard copy of the itinerary for the day. Just understand you're going to miss out on any announcements. So a couple of times a day, you're going to want to check in on the app and just see what's going on.
And your obviously your dinner reservations are not gonna be on the paper copy, so if you can't remember what your dinner reservations are,
Write it
you may
down.
need the app for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, So I get this at least 3 or 4 times a week. I will get random questions on my Facebook or my Insta or my TikTok, random questions. And some of the questions that are asked are hysterical. Some are scary. Some I'm convinced are people are just, having fun with me. Um, but I'll answer any question to the best of my ability. And when you take us on as your travel consultant, advisor, first mate, whatever you want to call us, I don't like using the word agent. That's just me.
Yeah.
Um, we're here to answer any question, and there is no question too bizarre. From medical facilities on board to um, we want to renew our vows on board. Okay. We want to get married on board. Oh, okay. That's a conversation. Um, we want to do what's the difference between a splash for my bash and a splash of romance? Same price. Let's talk about it. Um, so let's talk about, are you an experienced traveler? Well, you don't have to use the onboard excursions, but there are pitfalls to not using it. If you want to go through Viator, we can do that. You want to go through TripAdvisor, we can do that. But we're always going to remind you that if you get off the boat and you're not with the ship, not with the ship company, the supplier, you're doing so somewhat at your own risk.
Um, excursions especially. I know I've been talking a lot about the Alaska excursions with my clients lately, and, when Virgin's new to an area, we don't have a lot of, um, insight into what the excursions are. But for the most part, the excursions they're doing are the same ones that are on Viator or Shore Excursions Group or any of those companies. So, just keep that in mind. You're gonna see the same thing on Viator, but a little bit cheaper and without the guarantee that they're gonna get you back to the ship and the ship's gonna wait for you if something happens. So, for me, the peace of mind of booking through Virgin outweighs the cost, um, in certain situations, especially if it's a port that I'm not familiar with.
Absolutely. We were on a first season when resilience started going into these smaller islands. We had some great excursions. We had some ones that we gave direct feedback on, and Virgin was so happy that we gave them feedback because they want to hear about it. And most of the cruise companies do, not just Virgin. And if you have a terrible excursion, go to guest services as polite as you can, explain what happened. Sorry, sailor services, explain what happened. Don't be afraid to shoot us an email or a text to let us know so we can work our channels. And then at the end of the cruise, fill out that survey.
Yeah.
Please fill out that survey because they want to
And
get the good, the bad,
Virgin
and the ugly.
Virgin does have a program where their staff can go and test out these excursions when they have time off in these ports. So they are constantly evaluating the excursions. Um, but hearing it from the sailors themselves also helps out a ton. So just always make sure you're filling out those reviews and surveys when you get them in your app, because that really helps a ton as far as that goes.
Jen, let's talk about advice for a few different scenarios. We both are really honing in on Alaska. Obviously, we've mentioned it a lot of times. Um, I'm a big proponent of rookie cruises. Those are the 4 or 5 night sailings.
Mhm.
People who have never sailed before. I think I'm somewhat of an expert on those because I've done 3 of them myself. We're probably doing a 4th one over
Yeah.
Christmas. Um, so, where do you find yourself giving the most advice to people?
I get a lot of new first-time cruisers, um, and I tell them the same thing, look I tell them if they're not party people, don't look at the 4-night because that's just not enough time, in my opinion. If you're looking for a party and just to get away for a weekend, then sure, go on the Fire and Sunset Soiree 4-night or 3-night if there is a 3-night, 'cause sometimes there is, but I recommend 5 to 7 days as a rookie cruise because that gives you time to be on the ship, get off on a port, have a couple sea days, go to Bimini, and be done. And if I would say really 5 or 6 nights for a beginner. 7 nights, I think, when you're first starting cruising can be a little much. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, give me the longer itineraries because I love the longer itineraries. I think, especially on Virgin, some of the other cruise lines, I can't really do more than 7 days because it's just, there's not enough to do. Um, and this is something I actually saw on threads today. And every time I see someone say this, I want to get in a fight with them, but I refrained. I see a lot of people saying there's not enough entertainment on Virgin. And I don't totally agree with that because if you're finding yourself bored during the day, the entertainment's not for you. That's on Virgin. There is always something to do. I am always chasing the schedule in my app because there are so many things that I want to do on board. I don't have enough pool time. So for me, the longer itineraries are great because I have plenty of pool time and I have plenty of time to go do the different activities. Um, I don't know if it's the shorter itineraries that don't have enough entertainment, or maybe they just didn't like the entertainment. But to say there's no entertainment on board is just not true, um, in my opinion. There's
Unless you
so
are
much to do.
unless you are looking for, like, "Let's go to the movie theater." Not gonna happen on Virgin.
No,
But there's great movies in your room, don't get me wrong. Um, Unless you're looking for a legitimate magic show, you're not gonna see it. You're gonna see, like, a Mentalist, you're gonna see the Happenings cast all doing their bells and whistles to have an amazing time, but if you're going on Virgin and you are closed off to new
new
experiences, whether it's
experiences.
watching karaoke, trivia, which are their 2 biggest things, um, stargazing at night, not stargazing the way we think about it, so definitely go and check it out. Um, Downtime in your hammock, which is a must do every day to just take
Yeah,
a nap at some point and there are people who try to beat that, I don't know why. And another thing about Virgin is you're not going to be chasing the drinking dragon because you don't have to. Um, And I asked my clients in a survey the other day, what's the biggest waste of money? They said all inclusive drink packages. It's like interesting. And now more so because people are like, well, if I'm not on the boat, I'm not drinking that time. And now with NCL saying, oh, when you go to the island, you need a different drink package for the day.
Carnival too. Carnival's doing the same thing.
So
Um,
Royal's going to be right behind them.
I just actually was having this conversation with someone yesterday because the itinerary they're looking at only has 2 sea days. The rest of the time they're in port all day. And we're trying to figure out how much bar tab they want. And so we were comparing Celebrity, Princess, and Virgin. And I was like, guys, Celebrity alone, because you're on Star Princess, you're going to be paying a minimum of $100 a day per person for their Princess Plus package, which is your Wi-Fi, your drink package, 4 meals in a casual dining restaurant, not even the specialty dining, just the casual dining, and a couple other things. And that's another, for a 7-day sailing, $2,800 on top of the cruise. And the cruise was already $6,000. And then Celebrity, you're paying $589 a person, or 585, something like that, for a drink package and Wi-Fi, not even specialty dining. So the fact that you don't have to have a drink package and you could look at your itinerary and say, hey, we're going to be in port these days. We really don't need that much to drink on those days. We're probably going to have a couple cocktails at dinner, and you can decide how much you want to spend, I think is a huge bonus that people forget to look at. And the fact that if you're sailing with someone that's a non-drinker, like me. I mean, I drink, but I sail with someone that doesn't drink anymore. And if we were looking at going on Celebrity,
You're both
I
drinking whether you
wouldn't.
like it or not.
Yeah, she'd have to pay for a drink package because her non-alcoholic cocktails are part of that drink package, but the benefit to her isn't there because they're so much cheaper than alcohol. So,
I almost think that they should almost give a band is a bracelet, for non-drinkers if you are in a cabin with someone who's on a drink package. Like, and I wear with pride. I'm like, yeah, I don't drink. I don't
yeah.
drink, so don't offer me because I'm not paying for it. Um, but they're not that sophisticated yet, and I understand that.
But also they're
The
going to lose out on money by doing that. Like
and
Carnival came out with a non-alcoholic package, but you can't have someone with a non-alcoholic package and an alcoholic package in the same room.
right, even if
Like
it's expecting mother,
what point does that make? Like
right? Because people like to go on a baby moon
yeah,
when women find out they're pregnant because like, okay, we got to do this quick because I got to be back before week 30 or 28,
yeah.
but I can't drink. Okay, so you can't drink, no problem. There's ton of things to do, and if you know the drink package is worth X amount of dollars a day, great. If you stay under that, don't get the drink package. It's really quite simple. On Virgin, for a week, my wife and I, we can skate by on a $300 drink package for the entire week for both of
Yeah.
us, not each.
I did my 8-day on a $300 package. I think I went a little bit over, but not much.
Right.
And
So
that was, my specialty coffee, my alcohol, my non-alcoholic, all of that.
my thing is the protein. I get a protein drink in the morning. She'll go get a specialty coffee in the morning. But we have Blue Extras now, so that's
Yeah,
not a
I get
big
my Blue
thing.
Extras now, so
Blue Extras is the sailing club. For Virgin, it's their loyalty program, and once you've sailed 3 times at a full fare, including lock-it-in rate, you um, become part of the group. And once you hit 5, you hit Deep Blue Extras, which includes, most importantly, priority boarding. Um, so those are things to know about because we are
you
going
know,
to hit number 5 in December.
well, I'm hitting number 5 in July. I was thinking I was already there, but some of my cruises don't count,
Right.
unfortunately, which is
Yep. And I have a
crappy.
couple of those too.
Um, so one thing to mention with the Blue Extras actually that we can help you navigate is status matching because I know Virgin's been sending out a lot of emails about status matching lately. And I've been getting a lot of confusion from people because they think that it's a permanent status match and that they're going to be able to apply it to their sailing that they've already got booked. But that's not how it's working. It is a temporary status match for one sailing and it's a future sailing. So if you've already got one booked, you're not going to be able to go and apply that to the one that you've got booked. You're going to have to book another one to be able to use it. Um, and really, all it's giving you is one free specialty coffee a day, a bag of laundry, and a little cocktail party. You're not getting much for that. The benefit really comes when you have Deep Blue Extras because you're getting a bar tab and all these other things, priority boarding, all of that. So if you're not able to status match, don't worry about it. 2 more trips, you're going to be there.
Right. And and Jen and I have mentioned, speaking of advice, if you want party boarding, it's very simple. Get Taste of Romance. It is the splash of romance. It's the best value on board, and it sells out almost every cruise. It includes a spa for 2 in the thermal spa, a bottle of Monet delivered to anywhere
Moet.
on the ship, Moet, and I mean anywhere on the ship. Um, you will get some tasty treats in your cabin and party boarding. So, and it's so worth it. It's
I will
$250.
Now that it's not a perk for us, I will purchase it every single time. Well, I won't have to now because I'll have Deep Blue Extras, but I tell everybody to buy it because it's just the spa passes alone and the priority boarding are worth it to me. And the wine because I like Moet.
And I think if you ask, don't quote me on this, you might be able to get a different type of wine if you don't like bubbly. You can't, they won't
You
switch it.
can't. Nope.
Okay,
And
well,
you
there you
can't
go.
switch for non-alcoholic either. And
Interesting.
I tell people if you're not a drinker, it may not be worth it. But I have a client who bought it and they just went to the pool and shared it with people they met at the pool.
And they're
And
not
that's
going to
what we
crack
did
it for
too.
you. So bring it home.
Yeah.
Give it to someone. Pack it in
No,
your
they
regular.
crack it. They bring it in the thing
But if you tell them not
open.
to open it, they won't open it.
Oh, really? See, I didn't try that because I was like, I'm gonna drink the whole thing myself. Um,
One glass, one serving.
but then we made friends at the pool and we all shared it. So we had 2 bottles because we each bought separate packages. And we just made friends with it. Like that's if you're not gonna drink the whole thing, just make friends. You'll easily be able to give it away. I also did it once on Scarlet Night, and we made friends on Scarlet Night and just handed out glasses of Moet to people. It
You know
was
what?
really
That
fun.
we might save it for that. That's a really great idea. Be like, yeah, we've got it because
Order
they
it
have to.
before because I ordered it during the pool party and they couldn't find me, and it was a whole ordeal. So order it before the insanity starts. But yeah,
And bring it up to
bring it up to the pool
16.
deck.
No, bring it up to 16 because you can't bring glass onto 17, onto 16, onto 15 rather. So bring it up to 16.
They brought my bottle to the pool deck.
Not anymore because it's all plastic now around the pool deck.
But they brought plastic glasses.
Right.
They brought the bottle with plastic glasses. Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Just
like,
so
no, they're going to bring the bottle out.
it's a fountain. It's like Coke.
Yeah.
And when we talk about things headaches you're not going to deal with on Virgin, as Jen mentioned, you're not paying for specialty dining. It's included. It's $50 a meal per person.
At
Think about
least,
that.
depending on the
At
cruise line.
least. And that's a jumping off. So that's two people. That's $100 a day per dinner, and $100 per day per couple for brunch. That's a
And
lot of money.
I'm someone when I'm on the other cruise lines that I don't want to eat in that main dining room every day. Like the food is not where it needs to be usually. So I'm at least 2 or 3 times on a cruise, especially if it's a longer one, I'm going to the specialty dining. So that's saving me money. When I did
What
Princess, I think I went every day except 2 days to specialty dining because the dining room was so bad.
Jen and I have heard of these elusive things called gym and classes. They're included. Don't know what it sounds like. I mean, I stumbled into one once. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I do some stumbling on board. The ship's moving. Um, Wi-Fi is included, but you do pay for what you get. So that's something that's kind of changed a little bit. Coca-Cola products included. There, it is a limited offering. You're not going to get the most important soda of all, of course, our non-sponsor Fresca.
And
Um,
they're freestyle machines. They're not like regular Coke machines.
right.
So keep that in mind.
Also included with your fare is per cabin, you can bring 2 bottles of wine per cabin on board, no questions asked, and a 12-pack of non-alcoholic beer or soda, no questions asked. That's really cool because if you're someone who likes to drink, let's say, I don't know, Moscow Mules, bring your own ginger beer, right? And,
I
you
don't
know,
know if that would count.
ginger beer is alcoholic free.
Not all of them.
Well, you get the alcohol free one. What we're getting at is if it's alcohol free, it has to
Yeah.
be a can, not a bottle. Um,
Yeah.
and you cannot bring a box of wine. It has to be bottles of wine and they have to be sealed. So
Yeah.
just be
The
mindful of that.
the sodas and non-alcoholic beer 12 pack is the max. So if you only have a 4 pack, it's fine. But I think the rule is if you're going to bring like a 4 pack, you can't bring multiple 4 packs because they're going to think you're bringing, it needs to be one box. So 12 pack, just stick with a 12 pack and you're going to be fine. The last time we brought a pack of Mick Ultra Zero, a pack of Heineken Zero, and there
Different
was one other
cabins.
one we brought to our cabins. And we just shared in between our 3 cabins and it
And other
was
thing
great.
about booking through a travel advisor, a gold not first mate, is when we travel with our friends, we make sure the cabins are lined up next to each other, and then we have a mega balcony, which is
Yeah.
so nice to do, because they
And the
can open
other
up
thing,
balconies.
I was just having this conversation with someone. The only connecting cabins on the ship are suites and sea terraces. So if you're wanting something connecting on the inside, that's really your only option. But no matter what sea terrace you're in, as long as we get you next to each other, you can combine the balconies. And I honestly think that's better than combining inside. Um, because it's open all the time and you can all enjoy the balcony together as friends or family. They will make you sign a waiver, but it's worth it.
Agreed. So obviously, as usual, we talked a lot about Virgin tonight because it's our favorite, or today, because Jen's on today, I'm on tonight, because we're on different sides of the country. Um, and
It's
so
tonight.
I,
It's 4.
4 o'clock, it's 7:21 here. Uh, Virgin's going to throw a lot of great things at you. There are some upgrades within. There are a few shows you have to pay for, like for example, Another Rose you pay for because there's a lot of alcohol that they give you. Uh, well, you pay for it, but it's like that.
You pay the $50 and you get dinner and drinks, basically.
Right, and you're basically
Yeah.
paying for the drinks, though, the dinner is
Yeah.
included.
Yeah, you're not really getting specialty
Um,
dinner.
there is food on Virgin 24 hours a day because the galley, something is always open in the galley. And I had that problem on NCL. I had no idea at 3 o'clock in the morning where to get food, and I was starving, and that was a challenge. Um, so just be mindful of that. As always, when you leave the ship, your water bottle needs to be empty. You can have water in it, I think, and that's it. And
Yeah,
when
I
you
was
come
gonna
back
say
on
I'll
board,
always leave with
it better
water.
be empty. Because
I brought
they
water
do spot
back.
check. They can spot check and ask you to pour it out.
Oh, interesting.
And please don't bring fruit on or off the ship. They really don't like when you do that.
Yeah, that no. And no seashells either.
Yeah, leave the sea where it is. Take pictures. Um, and there's so many conversations about sailing advice we can give you that literally it would be a 3-week podcast, and nobody's gonna
Yeah.
listen to a 3-week podcast.
No.
Um,
But the main things to know is there's a lot of things that go into cruising that you may not think about, and that's what we're here for. Is to walk you through those things or let you know if it's going to be an issue. Um, Ask us questions. Like that's what we're here for is to make sure that you are having the best time while you're on board.
yeah, that's why you use us to make sure it's as hassle free as possible. From making sure you're in a good spot in your cabin to and Jen has had some bizarre cabin requests that you have to go listen to other podcasts to find out about,
Yeah.
but she's had some crazy ones. And most important rule on board is just be nice. You're on vacation. That's the most important thing. You're on vacation. Any last advice, Jen?
I think we covered it all.
Oh, one other thing, if you're a solo, go to the solo meetups. You're going to meet a lot of great
Yeah.
people on board.
And I heard they've changed the solo meetups a bit. So I'll be testing that out when I'm in LA. Because I've
In just a few weeks.
heard they no longer are just meeting the first night at Razzle Dazzle. They're meeting at Grounds Club first and dividing into smaller groups at the different restaurants now. So I don't know
On
if
night
that's the
one,
first night. Yeah. I don't know if someone just like misspoke, but that's what I was reading in one of the groups from someone
because
that
they
just
do
got off the
break it
ship.
out
So
every other night. They
the
break
rest
you
of the
out.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense, but I heard that's what they were doing embarkation day now. So I guess we'll find out in April when I'm on board by myself.
Well, you and 2,000 of your closest friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, happy
And
sailing,
all the
everybody.
influencers in LA.
You're the only one that
Yay.
matters, Jen. We know that.
I know. With my 600 followers.
So on social, you can find me at Cruising with Ross, and Jen is Cruising with Jen with one N.
1N, unless it's a certain platform. But on YouTube, you can find me at Cruising with Jen. Just type in the name, you'll see me. And Instagram, I'm Cruising with Jen. TikTok, I'm Cruising with Jen. No G.
Obviously, Ship Talk with Jen and Ross is on wherever you get your podcasts. If it's somewhere that you don't get your podcast normally or it's not there, let us know. But we're definitely on Spotify. YouTube, you get to see our pretty faces. And of course, Apple Podcasts.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Happy cruising. We'll see you next time.
Happy cruising.